In this episode, I'm gonna create models, then context class, then establish the database connection, and finally migrate the database. Alright, so first of all, I wanna create the project and the data folder. That is gonna be a class library. Okay, select, and let's give it a name as repository. .NET 8 create. Okay. First of all, I want to create a folder under repository and give it a name as models. I'm gonna create all the models under the models folder. So our models is gonna be product, okay, and I can remove this class. I do not need this additional class here. So I have the product class here. So in the product class, what I need is public, first of all, product ID, right? So that is gonna be an ID, and I wanna use key and database generated identity column, right? Database generated option dot identity. Okay, then I wanna use another property which is GUID and give it a name as product GUID. So, and this is a required field. So you might ask why we need two ID here, like one is ID, other one is product ID. So I don't want to expose this ID to the API because I don't want to let other know that what is my current ID. That means how many products we have, right? Instead, we can expose the product GUID, so there is no way to know how many products we have in our database, right? So I hope that makes sense. Then we can create like product title, right? I mean product name, right? And that is gonna be string length of title, right? Title is gonna be at most 50. Okay, but if we need, we can always change it. And column type name is gonna be Burcher. Otherwise the system will take it as a Burcher. Next, I wanna create another property which is description. String length is gonna be maybe 200, the product description, right? And column type is gonna be Burcher. Okay, that is my preference. You can still keep and Burcher. Then another type is like float price. Okay, then what else? Quantity, or we can also maintain the actual price, right? So that we can have a like little profit loss calculation here. That's the actual cost, right? Okay, What else? We also want quantity, and I think this is a simple product table here, right? Product class. We can also specify the product type, right, which is gonna be type ID, or we can also say product type ID, right? I think for now that's enough, right? And this is not a normalized table or class, right? I mean model. This is like a demo model I'm creating. I also need a product type here. So the product type is gonna be public. Same way, you need property integer ID, right? Then we need type name property, which is gonna be string, and name. So we also need string length. The string length type is gonna be max 30, I guess. Then column type name virtual, right? And this is a key here, so we can remove the unnecessary using a statement here. Okay, then we can use that navigation property, which will be public virtual product type, right? Product type, by default it is null. So here we can say type or product type. I think product type is okay. So this is our simple model, right? And we can also add a navigation property here, like a collection product, which is a list of products, right? Or we can simply use the product. I mean, products is makes more sense. Okay, that's good. Now let's create the context class in the repository project. We could also create a separate project like entities and keep the models under entities and keep the repository project separate, right? But I'm gonna keep all this in the same project for the simplicity. Okay, so this is gonna be repository context. All right, so this is repository context. So this is gonna be public class repository context that will be coming from db context. Okay, so at this moment we do not have the entity framework core in our project, right? So what we need to do, we need to right click on the project, manage NuGet repository, then browse. Then you can search by entity framework core, Microsoft Entity Framework Core. At this moment 8.0.8 is the latest, so let's install this. Okay, it's already been installed. Now control dot, add the using a statement here. Okay, that's good, right? Then first of all we can create the constructor. In the constructor we can get the DB context options, which is gonna be options, right? Then we can pass it to the base class. Perfect. So that's done. Then we can use, we can create the DB set here, the virtual DB set of type product, right? So product is coming from repository dot models. Okay, and it has like products. We can keep it as it is, or you can also keep it like product, but leave it as it is like products. Similarly, virtual DB set for product type. Okay, let's build it. Now let's create the context factory in the API project. Add new folder, give it a name as context factory. Okay, right click and add a new class, give the name as repository context factory. Okay, and this will implement iDesign time DB context factory. Okay, so it's not here. So what we need to do, we need to install NuGet packages. Right click, manage NuGet package, right? And in the browse, search entity framework core. So we need to install entity framework. Then we need to install entity framework core dot design. So this is for our runtime design, right? Then we also need SQL server. Okay, entity framework core dot SQL server. Then finally we need tools, entity framework core dot tools. This is for tooling, meaning to use the command line to generate the database or migrate the database, right? Okay, and if we expand the dependencies and if we expand more on the packages, we should see that entity framework core dot design, SQL server dot tools are installed. That's good. Now let's get back to the factory class. So here if I control dot, it will show up entity framework core dot design. Okay, so here we have to specify the type, which is repository context type. Oops, right? But the repository context is not in our project, right? It is in the repository project, so we need to import that project. right click on that dependencies or on the project, then click on the add project reference, then repository select. Okay, so we have now repository in our project as a reference, right? Now come back here, control dot. Now we found that repository using a statement. Okay, so we have to implement that repository context here. So create DB context. Okay, so what we need to do here is we can build new DB context options builder, okay, of type repository context. Then use SQL server, because we are gonna use SQL server as a database, right? So here we need to provide that connection string. So how do we get the connection string? So to get the connection string, we need to read the app setting, right? So how can we read the app setting? That is gonna be var configuration equal new configuration builder dot set base path and provide the current directory as parameter, then set then add JSON file, and the file name is our app settings.json. Okay, then dot build. Okay, so then it will build the configuration object here, right? So once we get the configuration object, then what we can do, configuration dot get connection string, right? Now we need to check, do we really have the connection string here in the app setting, right? Now let's go to the app setting file. We do not have that connection string in our app setting. So what we can do, we can add the property here that is gonna be connection strings. Okay, and here we can provide the name of the connection string. Let's say that is gonna be product DB connection, right? Okay, and the value is gonna be, that is what we need to figure out, right? But we are gonna read this connection. So let's copy this, come over here and provide that connection string name in this get connection string method. Okay, and what else? The next parameter is gonna be assembly. So b dot assembly, migration assembly, right? So migration assembly is gonna be our primary target project, right? So this is our primary project here, main project, right? API. So the assembly name of this API project is API. We can also find it from the properties. The assembly name suggests here API. So provide that API over here. And finally, we have to return that new repository context and with the builder options. That's it. So far so good. Now let's figure out the connection string, right? So if you want to get the connection string easily, so let's navigate to the SQL Server Object Explorer. Okay, Then click on the add SQL server. So in my local I have few SQL server instances, so I'm gonna use this one, Ripon, right? And then little tweak here. Okay, Windows authentication, and then let's select the database name here. So we do not have the database name here, right? I mean, let's select some other data. Okay, first of all we need to select this one, trust server certificate as true. Okay, then select any database, but we will change it to something else. Okay, then what else? Click on that advanced. Then if you see, this is our connection string. Okay, copy that and go back to our connection string here, right? And I don't want the command timeout at 0, leave it there, remove that. Initial catalog, if you see data source, in my case it is my name Ripon, in your case it could be different. Okay, and the initial catalog is the database name, so we can provide a new database name which can be product database, right? Product database or product DB or something, whatever you like. Okay, so this is our connection string. Now it's time to migrate the database. So for that, open the package console, package manager console. Okay, and it's under after PM package manager, what we can type is add migration and give it a name. Let's say database creation. Do not use a space in between the word. Okay, if you need to separate, you can use underscore, not the space. Okay, let's see, add migration. Okay, so if you notice, it created a migration folder here, and under the folder, so this is our script, right? Not a script, this is like migration builder syntax here, or also the repository context snapshot, right? So it has all the details about the table. Okay, once that is done, then what we can do, we can run another command, which is update database. It is update dash database, right? And this is not case sensitive, so you do not need to worry about this uppercase and lowercase. Make sure you are using update dash database. Okay, hit enter. Build started, build succeeded, applying migration. Okay, database, so it applied this migration, right? Now let's go to the database. This was our database. If you refresh, you see the database is here, product database. I have here so many test database here. Okay, if you expand the table, I see we have the table products and product types. If you expand the product, right, or double click on it, you see that we have the ID, product GUID, and all the details, including product type ID. Also it has a foreign key here, foreign key reference, right? Okay, now if you go back to our product type, it has like ID and name, and ID is the primary key, and here ID is also a primary key. Okay, that's pretty simple, right? If you face any issue during this migration, please write in the comment, so I will try to help you. Or you can also write this in my GitHub repository. I'll post this episode also in the GitHub repository, where you can write your issues there. Also, you can write in the YouTube channel. Okay. So this video is getting bigger and bigger. In the next episode, I will create the repository manager, including repository interface and implementation classes. Please guys, if you like this tutorial and learn something from this, hit the like button and please subscribe to my channel. Please also write your comment in the comment box that you have completed this episode also, right? And if you face any issue, write this in the comment box. I will try to respond there. Thank you.